Welcome back to the OHIO podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Buckeye Boggs, a.k.a. the Podfather. It's great to have all of you with us this evening for a jam-packed show here on the OHIO podcast. We have a lot to talk about tonight. There's some kind of news about a defensive coordinator, I guess we'll have to talk about. We're going to talk about how this team used faith to get to a national championship and win a national championship. And we have our 6th annual Buckeye Awards tonight. It's a jam-packed show, so do us a big favor. Hit the thumbs up. If you're here tonight, hit that like button. As we like to say, smash it. Smash the like button. Share the show if you're watching on Twitter. That does a great job in helping us reach more Buckeye fans like yourself. Also, we're the official Ohio State podcast of Scarlet and Game and Fansided. Head over to scarletandgame.com where you can read all the big news from today, and you can listen to our podcast over there, or you can listen to us wherever you download podcasts. If you do, please give us a 5-star review. We absolutely appreciate it. We're also the official Ohio State podcast of The College Huddle. Head on over to thecollegehuddle.com where you can find us and 75 other of our closest friends from coast to coast. Joining us tonight, well, we have the entire home team, and we have a special guest in Mr. Zack Gugenheim. Zack, tell everybody who you are and what you do, buddy.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, Eric, my name is Zack Gugenheim. I am the former host of the Big Ten Football Talk podcast, now the co-host at the Big Ten Huddle with JR. But my main role, my main calling in life is I work with a ministry called Disciple Makers, which is a campus ministry mostly in the Pennsylvania area. And I oversee 4 different campuses kind of as their area director. We call them team leaders, but I lead an area. So I train staff and I meet with students one-on-one for discipleship, lead Bible studies, do a lot of preaching, and I'm an elder at my church. And so that's my bread and butter. So Ohio State and Big Ten football is my hobby. Jesus is my passion and my calling in life with college students, and getting to mix the two together is a real joy. So I'm really grateful just to be here to talk about that topic.
So you're from Pennsylvania, so I think you're the perfect guest for all 3 topics tonight. So, just so happened you were the perfect person to bring in, Zack. Gosh, we're so thankful for all of you who are in the chat tonight. The show would be way too long if I mentioned everybody. Good to have each and every single one of you with us tonight. God bless you all for being with us. You're going to love what we talk about. Let's dive right in tonight, guys. Chris and I went to the celebration today. We had a great time with our friend Roy, who's in the chat. Good to see him tonight as well. And it was awesome time with friends and about, 15, 20,000 other of our closest friends there at the shoe. I heard more than that. I don't know if it was more than that, but great time. But there was somebody missing from that celebration, we noticed. And then by the time we got back to our car to drive home, the news had broke that we're without a defensive coordinator. Jim Knowles, indeed, where there's smoke, there's fire. Jim Knowles is no longer the defensive coordinator for Ohio State. However, he's not going back to the state of Oklahoma to be the defensive coordinator for the Sooners. He's going over there to the state of Pennsylvania to be the new defensive coordinator for James Franklin and the Nittany Lions. So tonight, before we dive into our main topic, I want to ask you this question. Give me your reaction of Jim Knowles going to Penn State, and then I want you, after you give me your reaction, to give me who do you think the next defensive coordinator will be at Ohio State, and or who would you like to see as the next defensive coordinator for Ohio State? JR, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, I posted a little bit of my thoughts on Twitter, and essentially, I mean, kind of stinks to see Jim Knowles go. You don't like to see him go to, I consider Penn State kind of a rival, if not a full-on rival. So to see him go to there, it is what it is, though. We won a national championship with him. I don't have too hard of feelings. At this point, it's like, thanks for being here. Now you're the op. So we're going to do our best to beat you. As far as I'm concerned about whoever comes to be the defensive coordinator at Ohio State, I trust Ryan Day. Whatever decision he makes, he's earned my trust at this point. So I do think that things are lining up with probably the safeties coach Matt Guerrieri to be the the defensive coordinator. If you catch it during the celebration, Eric, you and Chris may have, but he called him a rising star, and it's like, oh, okay, Ryan, is he rising that quickly to defensive coordinator status? We'll see. But as far as I'm concerned, Jeff Halfley is a good name that I thought of. Phil Parker is actually from Ohio, from Iowa, so that would be a cool name to see about. But I don't think he's leaving Iowa anytime soon. Seems like he's probably going to retire there. But yeah, I think any of those names, as long as they don't bring in like Alex Grinch, I'm good.
Zach, go for it, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to think that Gutierrez is probably the heir apparent. I will say, and pre-show we were talking, Cory, you mentioned Ryan Day's affinity for the 4-2-5. I did a little research. Jim Leonard, who has been back in the NFL, who is a really good defensive coordinator for Wisconsin, has run a number of schemes, including the 4-2-5. And so, I feel like he's a name that hasn't been out there a lot, but could be someone to kick the tires on. But yeah, it's a bummer for sure. It seemed like there was some smoke to the fact that there may have been maybe a bit of a rift. I think Alex Gleitman had reported on that, and that maybe between him and Ryan Day after the first Oregon game, and how Ryan Day kind of came in there things weren't settled. And so it's a bummer, but if relationships weren't going to be mended, then it's better to part ways.
All right.
All right. I am going to say thank you to Jim Knowles. He got us a national championship, or he helped greatly with that. He revived the Silver Bullets without a doubt after what the disaster was that Kerry Combs was. And that being said, come November 1st, we're going to kick your teeth in. I don't care. You're the op now. I think Matty G is going to end up being the hire. I think Ryan Day has built plenty of capital to where he can just kind of pick who he wants and not really get any pushback on it. And I trust Ryan Day. If he feels Matty G's the guy, then fine. I mean, people are going to point to his Duke and Indiana coordinating things where Duke and Indiana defenses weren't really that great when he was there. But I do understand he's well liked by the players. He's Downs position coach. He's from Ohio. He's got play calling experience, and maybe with better talent, Ryan Day feels like he'll thrive. And he's a Knowles disciple, obviously. But my absolute number one choice would be Jeff Halfley. It is not happening. For people who keep mentioning Jeff Halfley as a possibility, they might give him a call, but that guy immediately said, no thanks, bye. He's getting upwards of $3 to $4 million of Green Bay. He's going to be an NFL head coach in the next couple of years. That I would love if it'd be a dream if he came back, but it's not happening.
Yeah, Eric, we talked about it, right as we heard the news break, and you had mentioned it, and I think you're absolutely right. I think that Guerreri's the guy. Jim Knowles' disciple. This is a team that, like you had mentioned, has recruited for a Knowles-style defense. He knows these players that are here. He knows the recruits that we've been working with. I think that he probably is the most logical hire for the program at this time. Definitely seems like Ryan Day has a lot of faith in the young man. So he has been a co-defensive coordinator at Indiana. But I'll tell you honestly, if the stars would align the right way and we could get somebody, say, a Luke Fickell, should he not be happy with his current situation in Wisconsin? I would not be heartbroken about that. And as we talked, I mean, I really wish Knowles had given us another year or so, because I really think another up and rising guy on this staff is James Laurinaitis. I just don't think he's there yet. So I think Matt G is probably the hire.
Yeah, I think you guys are probably right. That it's going to be Matty G. Ryan Day gets up there on the stage, and Chris and I noticed it right away. He glossed over his thank you to Jim Knowles. I mean, it was thank you for our defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles. And Larry Johnson, the greatest defensive coordinator or defensive line coach of all time. It was like, whoa, okay, that was obvious there that there's definitely still a rift going on there. And then he says what he says about Matty G. I think that's probably who it's going to be. Um, the timing of this is terrible. I don't like the fact that he doesn't get to celebrate with his defensive players. I think that's kind of crappy. I think he probably should have waited till at least tomorrow for that to go on. But um, I don't know, man. It's who knows exactly what the truth was. I've heard he went to Ryan Day and Ryan Day told him, "Well, then don't just go clean your office out." And if that's the case, kudos to Ryan Day for kind of putting his foot down. If you ask me who I would like to see outside of Luke Fickell, obviously because I bleed scarlet and gray, give me Phil Parker from Iowa. The dude is solid. He's a veteran guy. I think he would do a great job with this defense, and not put us in a bad situation defensively. Matty G scares me a little bit. He's kind of unproven. What we saw in Indiana didn't look great, but if Ryan Day trusts him, then who am I to second guess a national championship winning head coach? Right? Who am I?
So,
Right there. Right
so
there.
guys, does it feel like in any way that Knowles took a day of celebration for the Buckeyes and kind of made it about him?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you might say that, but Chris, he hasn't said anything. I have not seen one tweet. I've not seen one quote. I've not seen anything from him. And his sister doesn't speak for him. So, and boy, is she awful. She talks enough for everybody in the family. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, but there's a reason why it got reported by Oklahoma writers and Penn State writers like immediately after the celebration.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's definitely timed.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. There's definitely going to be more to this story as it comes out, and obviously there'll be more videos made on every Ohio State channel. There is. I can't wait to do a collaboration with the Penn State guys from the College Huddle talking about.
Can we now officially call him an enemy of the state?
Sure, why not? Why not? All right, we'll have more about him later on. Okay, let's dive into tonight's topic and the main reason why we brought Zack on. And guys, I got to tell you, my favorite part of the celebration today was G. Scott gets up, and before first off, they let him have a prayer.
Yes.
Fantastic job. Hats off to Ohio State for letting G do this. He says we're going to end our season or start today's program the same way we started the season, in prayer. And then you have Travion Henderson who gets up on stage and gives a quick 5-minute sermon or less. Fantastic job explaining the gospel in 4 minutes or less, Trey. And then, Emeka Egbuka talks about how coming to Ohio State saved his life. I mean, and then and mixed into all of that was Jack Sawyer announcing he was going to come back for a fifth season, which I praised the Lord for at the time too. So it was a great day all around. Bobby Mack, $2 howler. Positive note, he did it today, so no one leaves. So maybe we'll see Bobby Mack.
Well, there's still the spring portal window, so.
There is. That is true. All right, so I'm going to start with you first, Zack, since you are our guest, and we brought you on for this specific reason. As someone who works with college kids on a college campus, what do you think happened with this team and their faith to cause them to be so radically vocal about it, to the degree where it not only revived or was a revival within the locker room, but spread to the entire campus at Ohio State?
Yeah, I think it's been interesting to hear. I'm looking up a scripture verse while we're talking about it, because I think the scripture actually probably really lends itself to it. 1 Peter 2 says, this, therefore rid yourselves of all malice and all deceit, hypocrisy, envy, and slander of every kind. Like newborn babies, crave pure spiritual milk, so that by it you may grow up in your salvation, now that you have tasted that the Lord is good. And I think the reason why that scripture is relevant in my mind is that it seems like these players, many of them met Jesus at Ohio State. If you go back and look at Emeka Egbuka's NFL announcement, he doesn't say just praise to the Lord. He says, I met Jesus at Ohio State.
Travian said the same thing. Will Howard said the same thing, etc. Yes.
Yeah. And I think if you heard Ryan Day talk, I think during his interview, sit down with Marcus Freeman, or one of his interviews, he was talking about how everywhere he turned there was a Bible study. And I think these players, sometimes you hear players talk about faith, and it's like it's just a thing that you mention. It's like, oh, like glory to God, yada yada yada. But like these guys really, really lived it. Like they were. G. Scott was preaching and he's baptizing guys at churches. And, you hear Emeka talking about it. He was concerned about his relationship with the Lord, not just on Saturdays, but he was talking about how even if they lost the national championship, even if they didn't accomplish anything, that it would be okay. And the reason why is because their foundation was continually being renewed. Like newborn babies craving pure spiritual milk, they were craving the scriptures. They were in Bible studies all the time. They were going to church together. They're in community together. They're sharpening one another. Travion Henderson, during my favorite moment of this playoff run, he has a 75-yard touchdown, and everybody's asking him about that. And all he can talk about is like, I needed to go and repent before the Lord and then to my brothers for my bonehead mistake of punching somebody. And I'm like, that's a dude that understands the gospel. Because he understands that regardless of all his accomplishments, he's like, it's my sin that held me back. And it's not just before my brothers, it's before the Lord. And I need to get myself right. And he said it great. That's not who I want to be. And so them craving the word, I think formed them to not only mature individually, but then they're holding each other accountable. And so even their greatest failures were opportunities to grow, whether that be on the field or off the field. And like that, isn't that the story of the gospel? That we fail, we can either go inward, we can try to justify ourselves, or we can go to the Lord and confess and then be changed and transformed by the blood of the Lamb. And so I think that you look all over in how they talked and how they encouraged each other and how they challenged each other. Like that, in a nutshell, like that's the best way to motivate a team to excellence. Now, does it mean that every team that believes the gospel is going to be this team? No, because they have all world talent too. Like it's not just, well, they were faithful and that's why they won. But I think the reason why they were so in lockstep, especially after the team up north loss, is you can take the greatest failures and you can say, hey, we can actually look at it, look in the mirror, see how we failed, how we didn't hold up our end of the bargain, and we say, hey, let's turn and let's go after this thing and let's do it together. And I think that's a huge part of who this team is.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. It's amazing to me to just watch how it just kind of went through the roster like they did. And Travion spoke to that a little bit today when he said, there's a lot of people who and I'm paraphrasing kind of what he said here, is a lot of people who thought we were weak for our love in Jesus, but what they don't understand is that we're actually strong because of Jesus. And I thought, what an incredible testimony to the resiliency of this team, and the fact that when we all thought they were counted them out, right? They never did. And it was that faith that they had that seemed to give them to bounce back. Their faith in the Lord, their faith in each other, and the faith in Ryan Day. JR, do you have anything you'd like to add to that about this discussion?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it really magnifies the story of redemption for this team. right? A lot of media outlets and stuff like that wanted to label it as like, oh, well, they wouldn't have won the national championship if they didn't lose to the team up north. And I get where they're coming from with that. I don't necessarily think it's true, but I do think it was a way to display the redemption of this team and their efforts, and the fact that they did have something to hold on to together that they were not going to let go of. Normally with a football team you find that in competitiveness and brotherhood and stuff like that, and they had all that. But not only did they have that, but they also, for so many of them, I know not all of them, but for so many of them, they had their faith that kept them together as well. And I think, if nothing else, the story of this team is not just a testimony of guys who came back and guys who did this, that, and the other. It really is a testimony of Jesus Christ and how much Jesus being in your life and putting your faith and your trust and putting everything on the line in Jesus Christ really does bring so much of your life together. Jesus doesn't promise that your life is going to be, flowers and rainbows and everything's great. But what it does do to have Jesus in your life is you are so much more resilient. You understand redemption. You understand being able to get back up, work hard, and also being able to forgive others as well. This is a team that I didn't sense held resentment against each other. Now we're learning some stuff about the coaches and stuff like that. Who knows? There could be a myriad of things that happened to that situation. But as far as I'm concerned, these players believed in each other the entire time, and one of the reasons why that locker room was so strong and why they stuck together was because a lot of them had the same faith, and a lot of them believed in each other and believed that Jesus was going to help them through this.
Real quick, and then I'll jump back over to you. We just got a message from Mello that Tony, one of their co-hosts, was in a car accident. So we're talking about the Lord and everything. I think we should do a quick prayer. So Lord, I pray, Lord, that you would just bless Tony, Lord, and sounds like he's been in a car accident, Lord, and might have an injury, Lord, to his ankle. I pray, God, that you would just touch him, help the doctors, nurses in this situation, Lord, and give him healing, Lord, and comfort, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, back to you, my brother, real fast. Zach, respond to what JR just said there.
Yeah, well, I appreciate even you differentiating between the players and the coaches, because I think, and you know this too, JR and Eric, being in ministry at different parts of your life, but a lot of people often ask me, so like, what do you do, or what's your hope? And our hope in Disciple Makers is really that we would invest in our students, that they would become the movers and shakers wherever they go. And like, our strongest fellowships are always when our leaders take heart of the gospel themselves, and they're essentially leading, and I'm just there to give wisdom and to encourage them. When that happens, you have amazing things that happen on campus. And the reality is, you never got the sense from this team that it was the coaches that were instilling this culture. Like, I think they supported it, but they were never the ones that were driving it. This is a players-led initiative. And when it's your players, when it's the people that everyone else looks to like as their peers, and they say, my peers are doing this, that is a game changer. And I think you really saw that in this team. Like, I think if Ryan Day was like, hey, you're all going to Bible study, that's one thing. But when it's G. Scott, when it's Trey, when it's Emeka, when it's, all these guys rallying the troops, that's what builds unity. That's what builds trust. And that's what allows you to persevere even in the midst of hard times.
Chris or Cory, either one you want to jump in, feel free. Neither one of you? Okay. just want to make sure you have that option. Yeah, go ahead, Chris. Yeah.
No. I mean, I don't have a whole lot more to add. It's just, I think that obviously, if you look at not just Ohio State, but college football as a whole this year, I think it says a lot that you had a Ohio State team and a Notre Dame team in the championship that both truly outwardly profess and celebrate their faith. Um, you know, I think it's not only a great story, but it's also, I think, great for the young fans to see.
Hmm.
Because these guys, and I think it was mentioned a little bit during the celebration today, these are the people that these young people look up to. And if they see this, and maybe if it just steers one of them in the right direction, then I think that it's something to be celebrated.
Yeah.
So, what role did faith have in this team getting to and winning a national championship? That's the question I would like to really know here, Zach.
Yeah. Well, I'll say what it's not, and I think people misconstrued Riley Leonard's remarks a little bit. I don't think it's just they believed in Jesus and they magically appeared at the championship game. Like that's not how it works. But I think again it's as you come to Christ, there is a renewing of your mind and a changing of your heart. Eric, you mentioned the Christianity is for weak, not for weak people, or it is for weak people. One of my favorite quotes. It's actually from our president in our ministry, Peter Kroll. He says this that Christianity is not a crutch for weak people; it's a stretcher for dead people. And I appreciate that because it reminds us that we were dead, but we are made alive to something more. Like we're transformed people. And so you go back to the two-a-day practice. I don't know if they do two-a-days anymore, but like the long grueling practices in spring and the workouts and all that stuff in the beginning. And everybody's got to do it, but there is a resolve that God transforms you to as you trust him, as you come to him more and more. And I think that enables you to be resolute even when the hard times come. And so I think everybody, myself included, was very curious to see how this team would respond after the loss to the team up north. And I think there are a lot of different ways that could have gone. Like you could have seen a few players really fracture from the team and just say, "Well, this isn't worth it." You could have seen a lot of blame. You could have seen a lot of people turn on the coach, and I don't know if that would have been unwarranted, quite honestly, with kind of what we had seen over the past 4 years under Ryan Day and the regime. And I'm not advocating that firing or anything like that. I'm just saying with everything that happened, you could have seen that type of things. But when you're transformed by the gospel, you live by the gospel. And so we've heard all about that players only meeting with Ryan Day. Well, to live by the gospel means you have hard conversations with people, not with the intent of tearing them down, but speaking the truth in love. And you do it with humility. Matthew 7, it talks about taking the log out of your own eye before you address the speck in someone else's. Well, it's like you're able to have those hard conversations and be respected because you are willing to take the big log out of your own eye first. You're able to address conflict in a way that says, "Hey, I know I'm the biggest problem in this room right now, but also like we got to fix your problem and my problem." And I think you saw like that builds a greater teamwork, a greater chemistry. And so what did you see in the Tennessee game? You saw greater teamwork and greater chemistry and a greater resolve because they had those conversations. They weren't willing to quit on each other because they know that love means you lay down your lives for one another as Jesus laid down his life for them. And so we're not going to turn on each other, even when you might have messed up. We're not going to turn on Travion when he has a bonehead personal foul call. We're gonna tell him, hey, don't do that again. But also, we love you, and we know like we got your back. It's that type of stuff that you saw game in and game out, practice in, practice out, and it's character. It's like it's the for as much as we talk about the supernatural faith, and it is a supernatural faith, part of that supernatural faith is it forms us more and more into the image of Jesus over time. And I think you saw that in these guys. And so when they hit low lows, they knew how to respond. And it was by the character that was formed in them.
All right, I promised you guys that I had a story about hell and the devil. The devil. Here's my story. And I'm only half joking because I'm really not. And I've been thinking about this as a old Baptist minister. I'm always taking things in this world and I'm relating it to scripture for context on how to relate the gospel to people. Let's go back to November 30th. It was a bad day to be a Buckeye fan, right?
Mm.
And those heathens from up north took their devil pitchforked flag and they stuck the flag, tried to, in the middle of our field, right? And I thought about times in my life where the devil's tried to plant his flag in my life. Maybe I've sinned and I've come short of the glory of God, Romans 3:23. And my divorce, right? Moments in my life when I thought about taking my life, when I was at my deepest, darkest points in my life before my divorce. Things like that. And the devil tried to plant his flag in my life. And I thought about how Jack Sawyer was not going to let that happen. And not to relate Jack Sawyer to Jesus Christ, but the Spirit of Jesus Christ would not let the devil plant those flags of victory in my life. And so I get a kick out of the Michigan fans cheering on that, because what they don't realize is that Jack Sawyer's attempt to say, no, you might have won this battle, but I am not going to let you celebrate that battle on my turf, is really what Christ does for me in my life. You know, from time to time, the devil, because of my sinful flesh, he'll plant his flag at times in my life when I do things I shouldn't do, say things I shouldn't say, think things I shouldn't think, right? But there's the Savior who died on the cross says, no, I'm not going to let you plant that flag of victory in Eric's life because I am the victory. And I think in a weird spiritual way, that moment, I think, kind of resonated with everybody on that team. Whether they had faith or not, it still resonated with them. Kind of like the people who were on Golgotha, whether they believed that that was the Messiah or not, what happened at that moment historically has changed the history of this world from that moment on. And they had to, even the soldiers, truly that was the Christ, right? Like there was no denial of that. And I think for this team, there's no denying their faith. Nobody, whether you're a fan of Michigan or not, you cannot deny the faith of this football team. And whether they won a national championship or not, whether they beat the team up north or not, whether they won the Big Ten or not, in their minds, they already won because of what Jesus did for them. And so when they were at their lowest of lows in that moment, and they saw one of their brothers go out there and fight for them in that moment, it seemed to empower them, and I think it resonated with them. Do any of you have any thoughts on my little mini Baptist sermon there?
I think it's hilarious that you relate Jack Sawyer to Jesus Christ, because what hasn't he been related to at this point? I mean, he's so widely revered.
83 yards, walking on water in Texas, right? I mean, come on.
He looked like he was walking on water when he was running to that end zone, man.
and Will Howard was very much Peter. I sinketh, Lord, save me. So,
oh my God.
He did a cannonball on that.
Hey, Don't make fun of Will Howard now, Eric. You heard Ryan Day. The
Yeah,
man holds a record as the only guy to ever tackle himself in the Cotton Bowl.
this is true. And he did admit today, guys, I did that because I knew we were going to score. I wanted to spend more time off the clock. I thought it was a great
And
answer.
then he said, "Believe that if you want."
Yeah.
Oh,
Corey,
man.
Corey, you got anything to add to this, brother?
No, I'm good, man.
All right, man. Zach, you got anything else you want to add to my sermon?
I was going to say two things. One, Jack ripped the flag, and also you had guys praying, and that, like, even after that loss, they were praying,
Yeah.
and I think that's one other thing I'll just throw out there too, because I think you're right that this faith has permeated the whole team. I don't know if I've ever seen ESPN and other media outlets refer to their faith as a driving force as much as I have during this run. Like, which I was, a friend of mine was texting me, and he said his prayer, and I really appreciated this. His prayer, and this is before the national championship, is that as they are known for their faith now, that they would be known for their faith even more as they leave college. And I just thought that was a very helpful perspective. Like, now, like, I'm praying even more now for them as they embark, whether it's the NFL or whether it's, in just the real world. But it's a thing. It's remarkable to think about how this team is known for their faith. And you had Reese Davis asking about it. You had Chris Fowler asking about it. You had Holly Rowe asking about it. Kirk Herbstreit was referencing the Lord during the broadcast of Tennessee, right? Like, he said, Travion Henderson found the Lord right before he scored, or right after he scored a second touchdown. And it's like, since when does this happen on network television, cable television? So it's been a remarkable ride, and it is more authentic than I think I've ever seen at any school, quite honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, this has been a really good conversation for me personally. I thank you, Zach, for coming on and speaking to this. I got one follow-up question for you now. A lot of these guys are going off to the NFL, and they're going to be going out and doing their own thing now. We saw this before. C.J. Stroud was very vocal about his faith, and he still remains that even in the heathen NFL, right? What do you anticipate this doing moving forward for this team? A lot of these guys are seniors, they're graduating, they're moving on. As someone who's been on campuses and have seen this happen before with seniors who graduate and move on,
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen in that locker room a little bit?
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, I'm
that's,
sure there was some discipling going on,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, we tell it to our leaders, our student leaders. If you look at 2 Timothy 2, Paul tells Timothy, what I have entrusted to you in front of others, entrust to faithful men who will likewise entrust it to others. And so we always tell our students that obviously this isn't what Paul wrote it for, but think of it this way. Paul is your seniors, Timothy's your juniors, faithful men are your sophomores, and then the others are your freshmen. So you're always pouring out and investing downward. And so the real question is, in the next, year or 2 years, you're going to see, did what this team do, did it filter down to the next wave? And if it did, praise the Lord, you're going to have continued foundation here. And if not, you might have a few people still, but it really, that's why discipleship is so important, right? Because you're always working yourself out of a job, whether you want to or not. And these seniors have worked themselves out of a job. They're going to the NFL, and now it's Jeremiah Smith's team. It's Davison Igbinosun's team because he's coming back, and it's Sonny Styles' team, and who are your leaders, not just in the locker room, but who are your spiritual leaders? And I'm sure they'll have help. I'm sure Master Teague, Cam Babb, guys like that who are around the program will help too. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, like, have they passed the torch in a way that it continues to be passed and nourished. So we can pray for it. And that's what I'll be praying for, is that this team would continue to be known for their faith.
Very well said. Well said. Any last thoughts from anybody else before we move on here tonight?
Just proud of this team for national championship, but most of all, proud of them for keeping the faith and being vocal about their faith and, never backing down. So when they got ridicule and criticism from certain people on social media, and some of that was people that just don't understand, and I thank God that the guys in this team were able to, work through that and realize that, because criticism on the internet is difficult. But just really, really proud of this team. And I don't know, they might not be the best Ohio State team that ever played. They might be, but they're one of my favorite teams that I've ever watched play for Ohio State.
Very, very cool. All right. Stover and Bryce West are rumored to be falling to Knowles to Penn State. I can guarantee you Stover is not going to Penn State.
No, that's not happening.
I can promise you that is not happening. Kid is a Central Ohio kid. He is the cousin of Garrett Stover is the cousin of Cade Stover. That is there. I would be.
Could you
that would
imagine
shock
the family
me.
reunion if Cade Garrett? Penn
That
State,
would
huh?
shock me more than Knowles leaving. I got to give a shout out to this guy right here, my good friend Carl Hugler. Praise God for your podcast. What a celebration at the shoe. Thanks, brother, for your podcast from the shoe. God bless you all on the podcast. Go Bucks. The prayers were one accord and letting their light shine for God. This hat was given to me by that man right there, Carl Hugler. So thank you, Carl, for blessing me with a national championship hat, my brother. I usually don't read my wife's stuff. I don't want to look like I'm giving her favoritism, but I'm going to read my wife's comment here. Faith can be shared anywhere. You have to listen when God puts it on your heart to be the vessel in which to share it. Thank you, baby. And I'll say this, and this is one of my favorite sayings. I had a poster hanging up in my room. I was the president of FCA Mount Vernon High School when I went to Mount Vernon. FCA stands for Fellowship of Christian Athletes. If you've never heard of it. And my mom got me a poster that I put up in my room, and it had a baseball player on it of the Expos. If anybody knows who the Expos are, kids
I do.
What is an expo? Like, they're probably thinking it's like some kind of show you go to. No, there was actual baseball team. Anyways, on the poster it said, "Witness at all times, and use words if necessary." And I have kept that in my heart, and that has been something that has followed me all of my life. And I would like to say that these players are a witness, and this national championship was a witness to many things. Not necessarily that God wants Ohio State to win national championships, although Woody Hayes would probably tell us God does. But God does care about you in all the little things in your life. He truly, truly does.
Yep.
Each and every single one of you. All right, JR, what do you guys have going on over at the Big Ten Huddle tonight?
Yeah, we're going to talk about this news for Jim Knowles and everything. We'll talk about what it means for Ohio State in 2025. We'll also talk about what it means for, Penn State as well. We're also going to talk about how Oregon apparently is national champions to some of the sites out there. I guess
One
they
idiot
missed the
site,
Rose Bowl.
JR. One idiot site.
Yeah.
It's
No,
two.
It's two.
Oh, it's up to two?
Yeah.
I knew the one.
Yeah. So I guess they missed the Rose Bowl, but we'll talk about that. And Heisman odds, Julian saying, and an Ohio State player is the number one player in the Heisman odds. I think you guys can probably guess who that is, but I'll leave the suspense if you don't know. And then quarterback rankings. We're going to do our 2025 quarterback rankings for for the season. Way too early ones. So we reserve
the right
the
odds
came
out for the national championship next year. And Ohio State had the best odds to win the Natty next year.
I think on FanDuel they did. I think there were other like Bet Online. They were like third or something like that. So
wow,
yeah, it really varies where you go.
Thank you again, Zach, for being our guest tonight, coming on and having this great conversation with us. Appreciate that, my man. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to look very different to you. And we're going to have a good time here very shortly. And then when we're done with the 6th annual Buckeye Awards, head on over to the Big Ten Huddle and give Zach and JR some of your appreciation tonight before you head off to bed, guys. Zach, JR, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. We will be back in just a few seconds. So
thank you guys so much.
Thanks, guys.
The OHIO podcast is brought to you by Mastermind. Mastermind specializes in 360-degree, high-definition mobile video mapping, GIS integration, and traffic safety studies. Mastermind cares about traffic safety and keeping you safe on the roadway. Visit Mastermind at onlinemastermind.com. The OHIO podcast is brought to you by Mastermind. Mastermind specializes in 360-degree, high-definition mobile video mapping, GIS integration, and traffic safety studies. Mastermind cares about traffic safety and keeping you safe on the roadway. Visit Mastermind at onlinemastermind.com. Well, you can't say we didn't put on our best for this. Man, yours has got colors in it there, Chris. It matches your hat and everything. Uh-oh. I can't hear you guys. What happened?
That was just me.
Oh, okay.
I actually thought this out, Eric. I had planned this exactly right.
Oh, yeah, you did. That looks snazzy, man. That looks snazzy. Cory, show everybody what you're wearing tonight, man. You look.
Can we see that again, Cory? One more time.
Listen, guys, he's the doctor. He went real fancy tonight. Yes, exactly. Chris likes to coordinate. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. This is freaking hilarious, man. All right, guys. If you haven't already, smash that like button. We really do appreciate that. We were well over 100 people. We're close to 200 people. 180 right now,
yes.
man.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. So let me explain what is about to happen for everybody tonight, okay? When we started this podcast back in 2019, that was the first season. It was March of 2019. And when we got to the end of the season, we came up with the idea, Aaron and I did, my co-host Aaron Brown, we were going to do some awards. A lot of people had already moved on to the next season, talking about the next season. And we're like, let's do some awards. This is our 6th year, the 6th annual Buckeye Awards. So here's how this is going to work. We're going to explain what the award is that we're about to hand out. And then each one of us are going to then tell you who previously won the award. And then we're going to tell you who won the award. And then we're going to talk about it. So that is what we are going to do tonight. And so without any further ado, let us jump in. I feel like we should have like the Emmy Award music or something in the background playing,
We have to work on that for next year.
Yeah, I think we did
music,
that one time when we
maybe
were just
a drum
audio.
roll,
Yeah.
Can we get the gift bags too, like the $60,000 gift bags those guys get or whatever?
Oh man, that would.
Well,
be nice.
what? With each award next year, maybe we make a swag bag that we send out to a listener.
A swag bag. Ooh, I like that swag bag. All right. So that being said, here we go. There are 14 awards we are about to hand out. The very first one shouldn't come to a surprise to anybody. It's called our Buckeye Leaves. All season long, we handed out Buckeye Leaves. Players could earn up to 6 leaves a week. Leaves were handed out for offensive and defensive player of the week, the offensive play of the week, the defensive play of the week. This season, the Buckeyes who was awarded the most Buckeye Leaves. Actually, let me go back. The past winners included in 2019, J.K. Dobbins with 22. In 2020, Justin Fields had 15. Remember, that was the COVID year. In 2021, C.J. Stroud set the record with 26. In 2022, he broke his record with 30. Last year in 2023, Marvin Harrison Jr. became the first wide receiver to win that award with 26. And this year, the recipient of the most Buckeye Leaves is, drumroll please. By the way, if you want to put a guess in the comments section, we would love to hear your guesses for these. This year's winner of the most Buckeye Leaves is, for the first time ever, a true freshman, Jeremiah Smith, with 29. He falls just one short of C.J. Stroud's record of 30 in 2022. J.J. Smith, congratulations on being this year's winner of the most Buckeye Leaves for the season. All right, we are going to move on to award number 2. Chris, have fun with this one, buddy. The Assistant Coach of the Year.
Yeah, the Assistant Coach of the Year award is given to the top assistant on the coaching staff due to an array of reasons, including recruiting, coaching, his position group, top performers, and his value as to the head coach. In 2023, this award was given to Jim Knowles. In 2022 and 2021, Brian Hartline won this award. In 2020, the award went to Larry Johnson. And in 2019, Brian Hartline won the first ever Assistant Coach of the Year award. This year's winner is Jim Knowles. Yes, I know that this may be ill-timed, but we cannot deny what he did on the field and how it affected the team this year. Knowles has won the Assistant Coach of the Year award for the second time and joins Brian Hartline as our only back-to-back winners of this award. The defense was dominant all season long and either led or was in the top 5 in almost every major defensive category. For that reason, Jim Knowles, the new Penn State defensive coordinator, is Ohio State's 2024 Assistant Coach of the Year. Our next award is going to be presented by Cory, and that is the Mr. Hustle Award.
I just want to put it out there. I did suggest somebody else for the assistant, so don't.
You know, and let me just tell you, Eric messaged me about that, and I stood hard and fast on this, Cory. Despite the timing, we couldn't give it to somebody else.
Oh, I'm just somebody who wants
what he did on the field. We couldn't take that away.
I'm just somebody who wants all the credit, none of the blame. So that's,
okay.
Well,
anyway,
hey, my wife did have a great suggestion for this, guys. She said maybe we could put an asterisk beside it.
Nice.
Asterisks are reserved for that team up north.
Allegedly for our Mickey Mouse title as well. I don't know. That's what they tell us anyway. All right. The Mr. Hustle Award is given to the Buckeye who has a motor that just won't quit. This guy might not be the most talented. Man, that's rough. Highest recruited or even the most popular. Dang.
Almost just sounds hateful, doesn't it?
This guy might suck in every way possible, but he leaves it all on the field. The past winners include 2019 Justin Hilliard, 2020 Garrett Wilson, 2021 Ronnie Hickman, 2022 Xavier Johnson, and 2023 Steel Chambers. But this year goes to none other than number 8, part of the dynamic duo with the safety, Lathan Ransom. 74 tackles, 46 solo, 1 sack, 2 pass deflections, 1 interception, 3 forced fumbles, 1 recovery, and 1 touchdown. Guy has overcome 1.5 million things to become one of the most elite players in the country, and he was always giving it his all on the field.
I stand by my my proclamation of him earlier in the year, he's the best tackler on the team.
Oh, I can't disagree.
I got some people gave me pushback and said, "How could you say that?" Uh, you know, when you had another safety on this team who is better. But I'm like, guys, I just
He is textbook. Perfect technique.
he's textbook, man. Absolutely.
All
So
right.
I think we go back to you, Chris.
We do for the most improved player award. The most improved award is given to the Buckeye, who from the end of the previous season to the end of this season showed the greatest improvement on the field of play. Past winners have included in 2019 Damon Arnett, 2020 Trey Sermon, 2021 CJ Stroud, 2022 was Luke Whippler, and last season it was Josh Proctor. The winner of this year's Most Improved Player Award is Sonny Styles. Sonny switched positions from safety to linebacker. And man, let me tell you, the numbers were a vast improvement. 100 tackles, 49 of those solos, 6 sacks, 5 pass deflections, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery. Guys, we could not have asked more from Sonny Styles this year to step into this role. And man, he came through in a huge, huge way. And that has won him this year's Most Improved Player Award.
And thank God he's coming back.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Now we're going to go to the award that is everybody should ought to know who's going to win this one. That is the Freshman of the Year award. It is given to the Buckeye who made the greatest impact on the team in his first year of play. And I might like to add, I like to make this award the true Freshman of the Year because I don't like to give it to redshirt freshmen. Past winners included Garrett Wilson in 2019, Jackson Smith-Njigba in 2020, Travion Henderson in 2021, Dallin Hayden in 2022, Jermaine Matthews Jr. in 2023. And guys, come on. Is there really a doubt? It's going to be
Garrett
Mr.
Stover.
It's Jeremiah Smith, man. Dude had just an amazing season. No doubt about it. This was the most obvious award on here. It just was. Now for one that was incredibly tough.
Eric,
Senior. Yeah.
before we go to the next award, we've had a request in the chat.
I can't do it. I can't.
We can't take it down? Okay.
No, I'd have to go into every slide. It'd be too difficult.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
We can wait. I was kidding. All right, we're talking Senior of the Year. The Senior of the Year award is given to the Buckeye who led throughout his career both on and off the field. His leadership will be missed upon graduation. The past winners include 2019 Jordan Fuller, 2020 Jonathan Cooper, 2021 Chris Olave, 2022 Zach Harrison, and now 2023 Cade Stover, if that was any doubt. The winner this year, one of my personal favorite Buckeyes on this team, and I'm going to miss him dearly, not just for his play, but for the kind of person he is Travion Henderson. Rushing, he had 1,016 yards, 10 touchdowns, 27 catches for 284 yards and 1 touchdown, had 144 carries, had a 7.1 average this year, too. He was electrifying. We don't get where we are without him, not only for his play on the field, but for his leadership off the field.
All right. That brings us up to one of my favorite awards, which is the Mr. BIA Award. The BIA, which stands for Best in America, is the name given to the defensive backfield at The Ohio State University. The Mr. BIA Award is given to the best player in that defensive backfield for the season. Past winners have included in 2019, Jeffrey Okuda, 2020, Josh Proctor, 2021, Denzel Burke, 2022, Lathan Ransom, 2023, Denzel Burke, and now this year, it goes to the transfer. Yes, it goes to Caleb Downs. Young man came in from Alabama and made an immediate impact, coming in with 81 tackles. 48 of those are solo. He had half a sack, 6 pass deflections, and 2 interceptions, including the one that absolutely iced that win in Texas. What more can you say about this guy except that, guess what? He's coming back next year.
Well, we're
That is
hoping.
just wonderful. I'm telling you, our Mr. BIA for 2024, Caleb Downs.
Yeah, we're definitely hoping about that. Next up is the Schooled by Larry Johnson Award. The Schooled by Larry Johnson Award is given to the top Buckeye who plays on the defensive line. Larry Johnson has famously coached some of the top defensive linemen in all of football for the better part of 2 decades. Past winners include in 2019 Chase Young, in 2020, man, here's a name for you guys I haven't thought about in a while, Tommy Togiai.
Yeah.
In 2021, Haskell the Rascal Garrett. In 2022, it was JT Tuimulau. In 2023, it was Jack Sawyer. And this year, let's go back to 2022 and give it to him again. JT Tuimulau wins the award for the Larry Johnson Award. 61 tackles, 35 of which were solo, led the team in sacks with 12 and a half, had 3 pass deflections, and 2 forced fumbles on the season. JTT actually had an amazing season and really came on late and did a great job during the playoffs as well. Yes, Jack had some of the more iconic plays, but JT's stats were right up there with Jack in that playoff run, and he definitely deserves some recognition. Congratulations to JT Tuimulau on this year's Schooled by Larry Johnson Award.
And I guess that brings us to the Chris Spielman Award. The Chris Spielman Award is given to the top linebacker of the Ohio State roster for the past season. Spielman embodies everything the Buckeye fans expect from their linebackers. He's tough, he's smart, and relentless in pursuit of the football. The past winners include 2019 Malik Harrison, 2020 Justin Hilliard, 2021 Steele Chambers, and the last 2 years, 2022 and 2023, are Tommy Eichenberg. This year, the winner, who else? Cody Simon, of course. 112 tackles, 51 solo, 7 sacks, 7 pass deflections, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery. Obviously, just a tremendous year from Cody Simon. What a way to go out on your Buckeye career.
So that brings us to the Silver Bullet Award. The Silver Bullets Award, it has been given. Let me try that again, guys. The Silver Bullets Award is the name given to the Buckeye defenses throughout the years. This award is given to our top defensive player on the team. Past winners have included Chase Young in 2019, Haskell Garrett in 2020, Ronnie Hickman in 21, Tommy Two Thumbs in 22, and last season, Denzel Burke. This year's winner, as if there's any doubt, chat, come on, you know you wanted this, Jack Sawyer. That's right, Captain Jack, 59 tackles, 25 of those solo, 9 sacks, 6 solo, 1 interception, 3 forced fumbles, 3 recoveries, 2 defensive touchdowns, and perhaps, if not the one of the most iconic plays in Ohio State football history, Jack Sawyer with that scoop and score just solidified this award as Jack Sawyer is this year's Silver Bullet Award winner.
All right, it's time to get dirty and talk about the offensive line, the Slob of the Year Award. The Slob of the Year Award is given to the top offensive lineman of the season. That was also the nickname I think Urban Meyer gave the offensive line during their 2014 national championship run, was the Slobs. Past winners included Jonah Jackson in 2019, Wyatt Davis in 2020, Nicholas Petit Frere in 2021, Paris Johnson Jr. in 2022, and Matthew Jones in 2023. And this year's winner, again, it's not really a debate, Donovan Jackson. Donovan had a fantastic season, moved from left guard to left tackle, and dare I say, played an outstanding left tackle and really boosted his draft status going into the NFL draft this year. And today it was said that he was pretty sure he was going to go to the NFL draft a year ago, had told Ryan Day such, and then had changed his mind when some of those seniors decided they were all coming back. And I'm glad he did, because he was one of the, if not one of the most important people to help get us to where we got in winning the national championship. And hats off to Donovan Jackson, this year's Slob of the Year winner.
All right, I guess that takes us to the Zone 6 award. Do we even have to go over this? Got to go the top wide receiver on Ohio State. Past winners include 2019 Chris Olave, 2020 Chris Olave, 2021 Jackson Smith-Njigba, 2022 and 2023 Marvin Harrison Jr., and of course, this year, I mean, look, there's no suspense to this. It's Bryson Rodgers, obviously. But no, Jeremiah Smith, clearly 76 catches, 1,315 yards, 15 touchdowns. Rushing, he had 6 carries for 47 yards and a touchdown. Not questionable. Guys, I got a suggestion. For the next 2 years, just write him in. We'll fill in the stats later.
Yeah.
just
keep that
rinse
slide,
and
and we'll
repeat.
just keep recycling it.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Just keep that slide.
If I'm not mistaken, that's his third award tonight.
I believe so.
He got the Buckeye Leafs, the freshman
Freshman of the year, and the receiver
and
of
the
the year.
Zone 6.
Yeah.
Pretty nice night for one Jeremiah Smith.
Not bad for a true freshman, right?
Not too shabby.
So, hey, speaking of great awards, let's talk about the Elite O Award. Former head coach Urban Meyer is famously known for saying he didn't want to coach average. The hell with average! He did not want to be around average people. He wanted people to be elite. The Elite O Award is given to the top offensive Buckeye on the team. Past winners, 2019, included J.K. Dobbins. 2020, it was Justin Fields. 2021, JSN. 2022, C.J. Stroud. In 2023, it was Marvin Harrison Jr. And the winner of the Elite O Award for this year, none other than the quarterback, Will Howard. Howard transferred in this year and immediately became a true Buckeye. He goes 309 for 423 passing, 73.1% completion rating, which sets a single season record for Ohio State quarterbacks. 4,010 yards passing, 35 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, a QBR of 175.3. Oh, yeah. By the way, he went ahead and had 7 touchdowns on the ground as well. So, well-deserved, the Elite O Award to Will Howard. And guys, think about that for a second. We had a 4,000-yard passer and 2,000-yard rushers this season. That's amazing.
Yeah. And 2,000-yard receivers.
2,000-yard receivers, yeah.
Yeah, it's just true. Okay, it's time for the big one, guys. We've made it. We've made it to the portion of this award show where now it just means more. This award just means more, and that is the Buckeye of the Year award. The Buckeye of the Year award is given to someone who exemplifies being a Buckeye better than anyone else. This person is elite on and off the field and makes all of us Buckeye fans proud to cheer for him. Past award winners included in 2019, J.K. Dobbins. In 2020, Haskell Garrett. That was the year he got shot and came back and played, if you remember. 2021, my 6th grade dance shirt. That's right, Chris Olave. 2022, it was Cade Stover. And then he won it again last year in 2023, that being Cade Stover. I want the chat, before we announce who it is, I want the chat to tell me who they think the Buckeye of the Year award should be.
Because this one was probably the toughest one to decide.
It is always the toughest to decide. Not always. Sometimes it kind of just comes easy. But, all right, we have Mika saying Jack Sawyer is who she says should be the Buckeye of the Year award. Ohio Buckeye Mark says Jack should get it. Bob Goog says Trevion Henderson. Donald and Karen Rosbeck say Travion Henderson. The chat's moving fast now. Let me try to catch up.
I've seen some Howard. I've seen some Henderson.
Jay, Justin B, Trey Henderson. Cheryl says Jack. Kenneth says Trey and Jack both deserve it. Let's see here.
Brian.
Will Buck says Howard or Henderson. Brian Oberst says give it to Trey Henderson. Yeah.
He also said, I'm Ekegbuka.
Oh, Coconut says Will Howard. Cheryl says Jack. Yeah, there's a lot of lot of offensive people here being chosen. What are they going to do when we say it's actually Jay Fielding is who won the award here? What are they?
That might cause a riot, Eric.
It
I
might.
thought it was
It
the
might.
punter. What are you talking about?
Who is our punter?
I don't know. Nobody knows. He's like the drummer of REO Speedwagon. Nobody knows who he is.
Tyler says, "Can we give it the award to? Can we give a coach this award, Eric? Because I give Ryan Day this award, in my opinion."
I
Ooh.
gave it to Jim Knowles personally, but you know.
Oh, jeez, jeez. All right,
Let it
that.
go, Cory.
Yeah. This year's Buckeye of the Year award winner is. Give it to Captain Jack Sawyer, guys. When I was at the shoe and I saw them, and I'm going back to my sermon again, and they went to go plant that flag on the 50, and Jack Sawyer went out there to say, not today, I felt like he was me in that situation. He took Buckeye Nation's anger and frustration with him to the 50-yard line to grab that flag. And you know what? From that moment on, I just felt like this team was different. And he had one of the most iconic plays in Ohio State history. And you heard it today, Chris. The crowd loves this guy, man. A Central Ohio kid, born a Buckeye from day one, raised a Buckeye his whole life, dreamed about being a Buckeye, was blessed to become a Buckeye, and is now a national champion Buckeye. We're going to give it to Jack Sawyer, your 2024 Buckeye Award, Mr. Buckeye of the Year for the OHIO podcast. Boys, your thoughts?
Good pick.
Yeah, I absolutely love this. I don't think there's anybody that screams out Buckeye more than Jack Sawyer. Just the passion, and these guys all have it. They all have passion. They all have, but Jack Sawyer, first one to say, "Hey, I'm running it back. I let you down. I'm coming back to run it down and run it back and do it again." He got in the ears of these other guys. I think he led that charge to get these guys back. Then he led it out there on the field. He left everything out there. You think even back to that rough game versus Michigan, he left everything on the field in that game. And then with, like you said, the flag planting incident after the game, Eric, absolutely just he took the heart and soul of Ohio with him out there as he went to just tear that flag to shreds. And then he led the way in the playoffs, made what may have been the biggest single play in the playoffs. And, you know, the guy's going to go down in Buckeye lore. There's no doubt about it.
Did you see the at the mall when he had that autograph signing? The line
Oh my
was
gosh.
bonkers. It was like, look, I love Jack. I'm not standing in that line, So it's just like it was that crazy.
Yeah, I'd heard it was like a 2.5 hour wait.
Yeah, he's a Buckeye legend. He's going to be a fan favorite for the rest of his life. He'll never pay for another meal here or whatever. If he's going to be in the NFL for a while, but when he's done, he'll come back and he's just going to be a hero or a coach or something. He's going to be affiliated with the program for the rest of his life. He loves Ohio State with all his heart. We can't take guys like that for granted. And Jack, you are a Buckeye legend forever.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Who was it said he'll never have to buy a beer in a Columbus, Ohio bar ever again? Like
it was a commentator. I just don't remember who it was.
Yeah, like it's so true. The guy's gonna be a legend in Columbus forever. Mika just said, he was the third Bosa brother, and I remember calling him that when he was.
You did when he first signed on. I remember that.
Yeah. When he was being recruited, that's how I described him. He's the third missing Bosa brother, and it took him a while to get there,
It was about
Yeah.
mid-season last year. We saw it starting to come out.
Yeah, but by the end of the time, and dare I say, he's going to be more legendary than the Bosa's when it's all said and done.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, I
he
think
brought
so.
the chip.
Yep.
Well, so did Joey.
That's true. You know what though? Joey
yeah.
was. I think a lot
Joey
of
was the
people.
leader of the defense though, at that
Yeah,
time.
Right. Joey was a sophomore that year.
Yeah, exactly. Not to mention, I mean, nobody's ever. I mean, look, I love Nick, but nobody's ever going to look at him like anywhere near the lore of Jack Sawyer because
No.
sitting out the last year. And I get why he did it. I'm not mad at him, but I'm just saying that's just not comparable. Jack apparently just came in really raw and had a lot to learn, but he just kept his nose down and learned it and lived up to the hype. He lived up to that 5-star billing, got us a natty, and he became a leader. And yeah, he's a Buckeye legend forever. So.
Don't forget, dude was playing quarterback his senior year, junior year, because he actually didn't play his senior year.
Here's a question: who's the bigger 33 in Buckeye history, Laurinaitis or Sawyer?
Who?
What do you mean by bigger?
Just bigger legend.
I think the legend probably goes to Sawyer. But if you asked me who actually was more impactful in his career, like complete, it had to be Laurinaitis. He's a 3-time All-American.
Yeah. And 10 years in the NFL too, or something like that.
Yeah. So, and Lord, I hope this doesn't happen for Jack. I hope he doesn't go to the NFL and have all kinds of injury issues. You know.
Yeah.
It's kind
I
of
hope he goes to a good organization. More importantly.
Yeah.
Well, as of this morning, there was talk that the Cincinnati Bengals were very interested in him.
That's not a good organization.
They got Al Gold now, D coordinator. That's not
Al
a bad.
Golden's the new defensive coordinator. They have a need for defensive
I'm
end.
talking about the upper organization. They're almost as bad as the Browns in the office.
You listen. The Bengals are ready to win right now with that offense.
No, they are. If
They're not going to be able to keep Sam Hubbard, though,
if they keep Burrow upright.
Oh, I would love to see Jack and Sam Hubbard on the same defensive line. Come on.
Well, from Bengals fans are telling me they can't keep Sam. Something going on there. I don't know what's going on. Money thing. I don't know.
Well, you know what? As a Browns fan, I can honestly say I'd love to see Jack Sawyer opposite Myles Garrett. You know?
That'd be nice.
Yeah, the kid loves Ohio so much. He said he would love to go to Cleveland or Cincinnati.
Man, that's a kid who's a glutton for punishment right there.
He just loves Ohio.
Yeah, but he'd love to bring a Super Bowl to one of those programs.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to say something that seems sacrilegious. If he went to Cleveland and won a Super Bowl for Cleveland, Chris, I would cheer that.
You might actually see me actually cry.
Yeah.
I would actually possibly cry tears of joy if that happened.
We might, you all think Chris was happy after the national championship. If the Cleveland Browns won a Super Bowl, that fella down there, he might be doing cartwheels. He looked like Chris Farley coming on the Tonight Show, man. He's just doing cartwheels.
Just one in my lifetime. That's all I ask for.
Of course, Donald and Karen Rosbach, boy, that would be terrible. Jack Sawyer to the Steelers. Ugh.
He seems like a Steeler type player too.
He does, though, doesn't he? Oh no, that would be awful for.
Well, let me tell you, the Steelers aren't going to win nothing even with Jack Sawyer because they can't score points.
Yeah, they can't seem to figure out that side of the field. Yeah. And they benched their good quarterbacks. So.
I heard today Will Howard 3rd round.
I can see that.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. I've also heard it linked to what I predicted before, possibly a Philadelphia.
Going to the Super Bowl? Philadelphia don't make sense to me.
Oh, it does. It makes so much sense.
Why? He's not even close to the same kind of quarterback. You kind of want to pick a quarterback similar to what you have.
I've heard Philadelphia mentioned. I've heard San Francisco mentioned.
What about Buffalo? Backup at Buffalo.
That would be a great situation for him as well.
That makes tons of sense to me.
He'd do well in Kyle Shanahan's offense. I'll say that much.
Yes, he would.
I agree with that 100%. Well, this was fun, guys. We got all dressed up, man. Don't. I might wear this to church next week. I.
All you
I
need
might.
is a key tie or one of them ties. It's like a keyboard.
Tyler, this is a great question, and I'm going to tell you right now. Watch for a video on this down the road.
Where would you rank Day if he won another championship compared to Tressel and Urban?
Well, he would pass Urban, in my opinion, but he at the same time you'd have to compare him. He'd be competing with Tressel at that point.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm going to be the one to say it. I still think he has to have a couple more wins against that team up north before he can pass up. Definitely Tress. And
See,
maybe
that's
Urban.
where I'm probably going to disagree with you, Chris. I don't know that game matters as much anymore.
It doesn't matter as much. I'm going to go ahead and say it. It doesn't matter as much, but it still matters to Ohio State fans.
It does. That is true. The Ohio Tuxedo Junction podcast. Good one, Googs. Troy says he's got the same shirt. Well, we could both wear it at the same time. Troy, would be twins, man. Tomorrow night, 8:00 Eastern, we've got some Buckeye therapy with Dr. Cory. Doctor, would you like to tell everybody what the topic of discussion will be tomorrow night for therapy?
There was going to be two topics. I think we're going to mock Michigan tomorrow for sure. All the arguments they've been making about. I even got it all written down, everything what they've been making on Twitter, and I'm bringing on my friend Jeff, who's obviously a Buckeye fan, a little bit more of a trash talker than I am, and we're gonna have a little fun at Michigan's expense. But also, what's that?
Cory, this is their national championship.
That's true.
That's what they're telling us.
Yeah, it's there's so many hilarious arguments they've made it are so mind-boggling stupid, but whatever. I'm going to have fun with them. Not to mention the second half of the show, we're going to talk about Jim Knowles. I was going to talk about the ratings that came out and try to figure out why the ratings were down a little bit, but I don't care about that anymore. I'm going to talk about Jim Knowles tomorrow at the second half.
Beautiful. Make sure you check that out, everybody. So tomorrow night, 8:00 Eastern, right here on the OHIO podcast. Don't forget to smash that like button, like Sarah's reminding everybody. Thank you so much, everybody who came out tonight. A little bit of a different show. I mean, we talked Jim Knowles. We talked a lot about faith in football with this team, and then we got dressed up and handed out Buckeye Awards. So a lot going on tonight. Like I said, it was going to be a very different show with a lot of different directions, man. So,
and now next week I'll be a loudmouth heathen again.
Yep, and Chris will be back to being Chris, and tonight's kind of what you can expect from a roundtable. We'll have two or three of us, normal hosts that you've grown to love during the season, and then there'll be a guest on, and then we will have discussions about what's in the news or topics about the team. And it'll be a great time. And of course, we'll include the chat as always. Thank you tonight for everybody who gave super chats. Bobby Mack gave a couple super chats, and we had a lot of memberships that were
I think I counted 15.
I think so. Actually, I think it was 25. B-Dub ended up giving 15 and
Devin
10 from Devin, and so thanks to B-Dub and Devin for handing out some memberships tonight. We really do appreciate that. And again, thank you to the chat, the best chat in all of Buckeye Nation. There's no doubt about that. So tomorrow night, 8:00, Thursday night, 8:00 for the call-in show. That's the plan for this week. And then a bunch of videos. We have a bunch of new videos coming your way. We've already recorded a lot of them. We have a brand new series where one of us interviews one of you, the Lunatic Fringe. The members here at the OHIO podcast. It's something new that we're doing. Well, it's not something new that we're doing. We've been doing it for a while. We actually started interviewing people years ago when we were just an audio only podcast. But we're bringing it back this off season because you know why? We all need to celebrate this national championship, man. We're going to celebrate the heck out of it all off season long. No doubt about that. That's what we're going to do. So the first interview is with Billy Bob. That'll be coming your way. And then, like I said, a bunch of videos and some members only stuff. Make sure you check out the members only video if you are a paying member. If you're not, it's only $3.99 a month, and that'll get you 3 really nice things. Number 1, it gets you members only content. Number 2, it gets you free shipping on anything from the store that you purchase from the store. And number 3, well, you'll get that nice members only t-shirt when it comes your way. Is there another? There's another perk. I forget what it is. Can't remember.
You get to see us from behind the wall.
Oh, the magazine, free magazine.
Yes, the free magazine.
The preview magazine.
That will, Eric, I hate to think about this already, but we're going to have to start working on that already.
I know. I was thinking the same thing this week.
My God,
I know.
you know, that's the thing. I don't know if anybody's realized this. We were talking about this a little bit on our way out before we take off here. But guys, we are only 3 weeks away
from spring ball.
from that big winter workout on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And then we go right into spring ball in less
March.
than 6 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. The St. Valentine's Day massacre workout that is well known. Yeah. So
this is
awesome.
insane.
Great show, everybody. Appreciate all of you. Be kind to one another. I owe someone's OH. Sing Carmen High with all your heart. Till next time, guys. OH.
I
Oh.
Go Bucks.